Alright. We live. So, welcome back to what was known as the Nerdy Geeky Podcast, but is now known as the Nerds and Geeks Podcast. Why is it called the Nerds and Geeks Podcast? Because it's much more easier to say it when sort of typing it out compared to the Nerdy Geeky Podcast. I use the text to speech thing, so that's why I decided to change it from the Nerdy Geeky Podcast to the Nerds and Geeks Podcast. So, anyway, let's get into today's stream. So, first thing is, I got the Nintendo Switch 2. And the reason why I got it is because it came out and people were not really doubting it or saying anything negatively. And the information I got was from TikTok, which TikTok tends to be more misinformation and clout and all sorts of other hippy-dippy crap, a bunch of lies and overshadowing the truth. So, I decided to get the Nintendo Switch, the Nintendo Switch 2, and do my own opinion, which I'm going to have a little play around with the Switch 2, and I'm going to be making a video on it and let you guys know if it's worth getting, if it's not worth getting, and so on. And yeah, it's supposed to be good graphical. It's supposed to be good loading times wise, faster load times and such. And yeah, I will go into much more detail in the Switch 2 video. So, anyway, I have been collecting Absolute Batman comics. I have one through 9. So I have yet to get 10, but I will be getting 10. I have seen a little bit of what goes on in 10. But the all the other comics I have been lacking out on. The only comics I have been catching up on is the Absolute Batman comics. I don't know why I keep up with Absolute Batman and not all the other Absolutes. I believe I have, I think, 2 issues of Absolute Superman, 1 issue of Absolute Flash, and I think I either have 1 or 2 issues of Absolute Green Lantern. And I know that I don't have any issues of Absolute Wonder Woman at all. Which, Absolute Batman seems like there's a lot more going on in the comic series of Absolute Batman. Because Bane Bane is the size of Earth Zero Bane. Spoiler alert, by the way. Absolute Bane is the size of Earth Zero Bane on Venom. When the Absolute Bane is not pumped on his Venom. Well, Absolute Bane, when pumped on Venom, he is absolutely huge. He is so huge, he can pick up Batman. Like, he's the size compared to Absolute Bane. Absolute Batman is a twig. So, Absolute Bane can pick up Absolute Batman and snap him like a twig. Well, you know how if you guys ever read the Nightfall saga, you know how in the very beginning of Nightfall, in the issue that Bane breaks Batman's back, imagine if they came out with the idea of Absolute Batman like in the 90s or somewhere before the Absolute series came out. I can imagine Batman having a hard time if the idea of the Absolute universe came out somewhere in the 90s. That would be something else if Nightfall was in the concept and realm of the Absolute universe. I would imagine that instead of being worn out, Bane could just put Batman in the hospital and he wouldn't be able to recover for quite some time now. Yeah, that would be crazy. I'm like, oh man, that would be like some sort of crazy thing. Moving on to anime, I started watching a whole bunch of shows. First, first I believe that I watched Dr. Stone. I finished that up. Then I believe I went to Disney Plus, watched a portion of Ironheart, which people really need to stop um belittling or being toxic towards shows like The Acolyte. I never watched it, but I heard from my friend it was good. But people spewed toxicity all over it, and now they're doing the same thing with Ironheart. Ironheart's very good, and now these toxic people who say they care about the fandom, in reality, they actually do not. Because if you were a real fan, you would say Ironheart is good and you would say all the positives about it and all the good things, etc. But if you're someone who does not care about the fandom for DC, Marvel, Black Horse, and all these other stuff, and all this other stuff, then you are not a true fan if you have more more negatives than positives. Like this this amount of negatives and only this amount of positives. Which I watched a portion of that, then I moved on to Assassination Classroom, and now I'm on Amazon Prime watching Teen Titans, the original Teen Titans from the 2000s, which I at least think it's from the 2000s. And that show is so good. And it's a shame after it ended, it got replaced with something very worse. Something something that could never have big shoes to fill. And thankfully, Teen Titans Go does not fill the shoes of the original Teen Titans. Frankly, in my opinion, they just they just tossed out the old pair of they just tossed out the old pair of shoes and got new shoes and ignored everything that made the original good. this is why we can't. This is why we cannot have reboots, because reboots reboots destroy everything what the original had. First, it was Teen Titans, then it was Ben 10. What next? The Amazing World of Gumball, which actually, The Amazing World of Gumball was a good show at the time, and hopefully they do not mess up what the original seasons had. It it ended in 2019 and it's coming back. So it was off the air for 7 years, and hopefully the creators of The Amazing World of Gumball know what they're doing and haven't lost their touch, because if they if they ruin the show, which I'm thinking they may not, then there is no hope for any reboots or any continuations, because reboots ignore everything that made the original good. It's either we do not it's either we do not have a continuation of the show, or they just keep going at it and keep doing what they're doing without tampering with the foundation that's already there. Anyway, so I have I have made I have made something with a 3D pen. And if you don't know what a 3D pen is, it's like a simpler version of a 3D printer, where you don't need a computer, you don't need a file, and you can just draw whatever. And I made a wand and a 3D pen won't be as simple or as smooth as a 3D printer is. So you're essentially so the way that a 3D pen works is you are essentially the 3D printer. The pen is the nozzle. So you have to make sure that everything that you do is very smooth, very clean, and very accurate. If you have a accurate sense of coordination, then you should be good. If anyone is looking for a 3D printer or looking into having a 3D printer and using a 3D printer and all that, what I would recommend is getting a 3D pen first, just to make sure that you actually like it. Then I would start off with a cheap 3D printer, and when you're ready, get a bigger 3D printer, and that's essentially it, and you go from there. Whatever printer you can afford, that's the printer that you should get. So, back to the pen, or back to the wand. I made this wand out of clay. Huh. Uh, anyway, I'm getting distracted. So I made this out of clay. And I don't know, I don't remember when I made it, but I made it. So I have made another one. I have made another one for the 3D pen, and it wasn't easy. At first it was very floppy and very unstable or something like that. I don't know how I could describe it. So I was thinking maybe I should like have some sort of skeleton in it. So I did so I tried to put some filament on it, but the filament wouldn't stick to the wire, and I tried sanding it, that didn't work. Then my friend sort of put filament over it to put it in place, and I asked him to help me, and it turned out as good as it could. and I tried sanding it, but that didn't really work out too well. So, so I did some work on it, and my idea was it would be this wand that was made so the handle of the wand, the part you hold it by, would be made out of like some wood, bark, and it would and it has this and it would be this magical property, and it would be like this mossy type of wood, and for the actual shaft, the longer part of the wand, it would be like it would be stone, and it would have like some bone powder, and yeah, I tried a black I tried a black dry brush, but that didn't really work out in my favor. So I went back, redid it, and just dabbed like some just dabbed like some green and dabbed some black and such, and I added a glow in the dark green to the handle, and yeah, let me know if you want to see some 3D pen content. Leave How about 20 likes, and I will make some 3D pen videos. I have been watching on Instagram. I have been seeing. I have a relative, and I have been seeing them make their projects and their sort of crafts, and they do junk art, like take some old Louis Vuitton, some old like computer parts, and make something like um Hellboy's giant hand thingy. I think it's called the Fist of Doom. I think I don't know. I'm pretty sure someone will correct me. And he has been making like things like C-3PO and Galactus. He made that one character from Ahsoka with the axe, and I would have, I would like to do something like that. Go over and ask them, hey can I make something, and yada yada yada. These these pieces were these pictures were made were um were made by them, and these two are actual pieces. They're just pictures of the actual pieces. And they made the Batman v Superman uh Batman helmet, the armored helmet, and they also made a Praetorian Guard helmet, and they're actually usable. And yeah, I just think it would be very cool to make something. Ask them if I could make something, sort of learn how they do everything. And that would be very cool and very interesting and unique. Because I think it's a very interesting and very unique sort of idea. Hey, I have this old computer chip. If you would want that, and I just think it's very fascinating to be like, oh, I can make a TAT out of Louis Vuitton and Gucci and all these other very lavish and very highly expensive designer stuff. And I'm over here using filament and 3D printing, which people people might find interesting. I and he sells this stuff. He makes it, he has orders, and people are always asking him to make stuff. And his stuff is highly inaffordable. You would have to be very rich to order this stuff, which which I don't know how he even puts this stuff together. Glue, some sort of industrial grade stuff, and I'm over here using melted plastic that will melt in the sun if you're not careful. Which is problematic because there's all these different materials and they need all very specifics to work, and they have to have very specific conditions like ventilation, fumes, and all these other things. And I just think that it can be very problematic. And the stuff I use is PLA. Well, the actual material is called filament. That's the type of filament, and there's all these other ones that have specific conditions. It's highly durable, can withstand wear and tear, but it has odors, it has fumes, and such. And he has good business practice when I don't even know what business practice is. And I can barely even sell my stuff. I made a Geodude on my 3D printer and I can't even get that to sell. And I probably had it up there for a while now. And I'm selling it on Macari, and there's all these licensing issues, and it's a whole thing, and I don't even know how to draw, and I don't even know how this technical stuff works. And I'm a 20-something-year-old who doesn't have all this help, who doesn't have someone to help me with business marketing. It's just a whole thing, and it's just a whole thing with the entire business marketing, and I don't even know what to start, and I don't even know where to end. That sort of thing. Is this the start, and is this the end, or is this the end, and this the start? Anyway, it's just a whole thing, and it's just all sorts of stuff. Anyway, it's just all sorts of stuff and all sorts of things, and it's all sorts of yada 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 yada. Moving on to obscurity. There's so many obscure characters in comics, be it DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, Image, And there's these three characters in particular that are good, cool looking characters, but they only showed brief appearances. One is why can't I remember his name? He's a character from the early 2000s, and he was the villain of All Worlds at War. Why can I not remember his name now? Maybe I will remember it later or something. Another character is Lord Vindictive. Lord Vindictive is a obscure character who is like Mr. Mixie, but evil. And my friend brought up Brainiac 13. Brainiac 13 is another version of Brainiac. And he appears sparsely. Frankly, all these characters do. Technically, you could probably say that Batman Zern R is sort of obscure because he only appeared a couple of times. He appeared in Absolute Power, the 4-issue miniseries. And the canon was that he was a separate character from the main Batman, but they changed up the continuity where Batman Zern R is a personality of Batman. Where if Batman sort of breaks and he is mentally not there, Batman Zern R is. Which his outfit is very weird, probably because he was introduced in that time in comics where everything was very weird and very strange at the time. And there's this other Superman villain who I can never remember. He sort of spoofed the first appearance of Superman. where Superman is lifting up the car in action. I believe it's Action Comics #1. And he's spoofing Action Comics #1. He reminds me of Doomsday, but without all the bones covering his body. So, yeah. Other characters such as Prankster, I believe his name is, they can stay obscure. And for the Teen Titans show, the original one, there's a couple of characters that could be obscure because they never were introduced into the comics. But there are characters from the comics that are in the show, such as Dr. Light, Slade, which that's not his actual name, but his actual name, the creators thought his actual name would be too dark for a show. So it's like my friend said, it's like calling Robin, Dick Grayson, Starfire Coriander, Beast Boy, Garth, Garth, Garfield Logan, Cyborg Victor Stone, and I forget the name of Raven, but it's like calling all the Teen Titans members by their actual name. So it's like that. And he really thinks that he should have been called by his actual name and his actual name is Deathstroke. And they thought Deathstroke would be too violent and too dark for a show of this caliber, which the show was already dark and gritty already. And we had shows like Justice League and Justice League Unlimited that showed scenes that were not meant for kids and scenes that could be very dark and very violent at times. There's a scene where Wonder Woman puts the atom in between her chest. And the atom just sits there in between Wonder Woman's things. That's all I'm gonna say about that. So calling Deathstroke Slade should be the least should worry them the least. or should have worried them the least. Because it's like, why would you want to change the name of one character if the show already has some dark and grittiness to it? Because there's shows that already have um inappropriate things that wouldn't normally be shown in a show like this, but they managed to pull some strings to get some scenes and some sort of stuff that shouldn't be in there to be in there. And it's like, oh, you can have the Atom, you can have Wonder Woman put the Atom in between her chest, but you can't have a villain be referred to as his actual name. You can have all these intense and particular scenes, but the one thing you can't do is have a villain be referred to as his actual name. And I did mention that Slade Wilson was his name, and that's when he told me about the Dick Grayson, the Victor Stone, and the Garfield Logan, and the Coriander sort of thing. So it's just odd for the time that they had these dark and gritty things, but the one thing they were unable to do was have a villain be referred to as his actual name. And it's just, you can do all this stuff and make it not too dark and too mature for it to be rated higher in maturity, but you can't have a character be referred to as their actual name from the comics. It's like, oh, we're gonna have Robin be tortured and forced to do Slade's bidding. And in the second season, we introduce Tara. And he's gonna manipulate her to do his bidding. Oh, how about we have the idea of Slade forcing Robin to work for him so his like sort of micro robot things don't hurt his team. Yeah, that's good. What about having Slade manipulate and force Tara to do his bidding? Yeah, that's good. How about we call him by his actual name? No, 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 no. Slade's actual name is too dark for the show. What do you mean that it's too dark for the show? We can do all this stuff that shouldn't be recommended for younger people, but we can't call Slade by his actual name. We can't call Deathstroke Deathstroke, so we call him Slade. What is the sense in that? Can someone tell me what the sense in that is? No, I don't have a problem with it, but speaking on the behalf of my friend, what is the sense in that? We can do all this stuff, but we can't do this one little thing. We can't do this one little thing. We can do all this stuff, but we can't do this one little thing. What is the sense in that? What is the sense in having all this mature stuff, but naming a character naming this one character his actual name is too much? It's like this good, this bad, this very bad. We can't do it. It's not in the list of things that are approved. We can approve all this stuff, but we can't approve this. What is the point of approving all this stuff, but we can't approve this? What is the point? Can someone tell me in the chat what the point is? What is the point of having all this mature stuff, but we can't name Deathstroke, and he has to be named Slade? And I understand that Deathstroke would be too much, but we have all this mature stuff in one episode of Justice League or Justice League Unlimited. There's this flashback of Hawkman and Hawkgirl talking about stuff, and Hawkman wants. I believe Hawk Girl is talking about wanting to have a child, and Hawkman wants to work on his glorious kingdom. And Jon Stewart is in this because apparently he was a ancient like pharaoh or something. And Hawk Girl sorta has an affair with Hawkman, and Hawkman finds out. And the next scene is Hawkman talking about how he doesn't want Hawk Girl and Jon Stewart to be together, and he wishes that they weren't together, and his butler overhears it, and Hawkman didn't really mean it. He was just venting off steam. But when Hawkman goes to check on Hawk Girl or something, Hawk Girl and Jon Stewart were drinking like some stuff, and it was tampered with, and when Hawkman and Hawk Girl, when Hawkman goes on to go check, when Hawkman goes to check on Hawk Girl, the Hawk Girl and Jon Stewart had drinks, and the drinks were tampered with by the butler. And when he realizes it, I believe the butler was there, and Hawkman talks to the butler about something. I think the butler was there, but I don't remember. So Hawkman, realizing that Hawk Girl is no longer, Hawkman drinks the stuff, and it is aligned in a similar way to blood. And you're saying you can have that, but you can't name Deathstroke by his actual name, Deathstroke. So it had to be changed to Slade. Ooh. How can we have a scene like that, but we cannot name Deathstroke? That is how does that even make sense? Where it's named like that. how does that make sense? Where you can have that scene, but you cannot have that name of Deathstroke. How can you not have, how does that not make sense? Make it make sense. In what world is Deathstroke called Slade? I know he's called that in the show, but anywhere else, I do not know. I do not know of anywhere else where he is called Slade instead of Deathstroke. I don't believe he is called that anywhere else. He is, and always will be, Slade. Or not Slade, Deathstroke. He will always be called Deathstroke in the comics, movies, video games, and TV that is more mature than what Teen Titans was. He will be called Deathstroke. Nowhere else he will be called Slade, because that's not his name. That's not his villain name. His villain name is Deathstroke, not Slade. He is not called Slade. He is referred to as Deathstroke. And it's just so crazy that the writers who made the Teen Titans show decided to call him Slade. And it's just absurd that he is called that over the fear of it being too dark or some crap like that. And it's just absolutely insane that he is called that because of fear. Anyway, guys, I think I have been rambling on for a bit, and I have nothing else to really talk about. So, if you enjoyed this stream, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm thinking about, when I'm not making videos such as I'm trying to stick to the Tuesday schedule if I can. obviously yesterday I was busy, so I will go for a Tuesday upload schedule if I can make it, and every other day I will be posting shorts, polls, and any other stuff. And like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video or stream. Bye, guys. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Not video, stream. Bye, guys.